Saying that 2021 was a bad year is one of those rare opinions on the internet that isn't controversial. Yes, you did click on a Helluva Boss video, don't worry. While I didn't mind it that much personally, especially in the second half, I know that I'm one of the lucky ones. Many people have struggled these past 2 years, but in the burning flames of hell that we call Earth, there was one silver lining this year. The rise of what might be one of the best animated shows I've ever seen. After a pilot episode in 2019 and 2 episodes in late 2020, 5 episodes of this show were uploaded this year, which is probably what kept some people going this year. This show is simply amazing. The comedy is the main selling point of the show, but the incredible animation, stellar soundtrack, and surprisingly deep emotional moments make this one of the best shows of all time. And with the season 1 finale coming soon, hopefully, I decided to rank all 8 episodes we've gotten so far. Full spoilers ahead, obviously, so if you've committed the treason of not watching this show, turn around now and watch it. I'll wait. And while you're at it, subscribe, because numbers going up gives me a dopamine boost. On to the list!
What insurance provider do you freaks have? The fuck is insurance?
As I've said, this show is amazing. But you wouldn't know that if you just watched the pilot. It's an enjoyable episode, but it lacks some of the best qualities of the show. The characters are a lot more two-dimensional, as well as just out of character. Blitz is mostly the same, but Luna and Moxie feel a lot more easily annoyed. Like, would Luna really do this if Blitz offered her a gift?
For syphilis?
Then I don't want it!
The M&Ms are better. Moxie having a shortened temper could be justified as him just getting more used to Blitz's BS as the show goes on, and Millie mostly feels different because her VA was changed in between the pilot and episode 1, which was probably for the best. Having Millie and Luna voiced by the same person is just weird. The biggest problem with this episode is the structure. Similar to this video. There's flashbacks inside flashbacks, flashbacks inside advertisements, flashbacks up its arse. It's all over the place. It makes the episode harder to follow. With all of these negatives, you'd think I wouldn't like this episode, which isn't true. It's a good episode by itself, but it's by far the worst episode of the show, which says more about the rest of the show than this episode, especially since this episode probably isn't canon anymore. All I'll say is if Hazbin Hotel has the same glow up as Helluva Boss, then it's going to be the greatest show of all time when it comes out. You know, in 2050, when Silksong will be released.
Oh, who the fuck is innocent, Moxie? From the moment of birth, you're already a parasite leeching off your mama's kids. Get the fuck over yourself, you baby dick prick! A new hole!
When I introduce people to Helluva Boss, I usually skip the pilot episode because this is a way better introduction to the series. The opening of this episode is just one of the best in the series. The happy classroom that immediately fades after catching her husband cheating on her, before just completely failing her mission. I mean, seriously girl, you had a shotgun at point blank range and she somehow survived. Good thing you left it to the professionals.
Damn it, Moxie, I just bought those heels!
The main upgrade to this over the pilot is the fact that there is a plot. The plot is extremely basic. IMP is hired to kill a woman, they kill her despite how innocent she looks. But this is an episode about characters. The plot just gives a feeling of progression to the events and allows the audience to learn about the characters naturally. This episode isn't perfect, there's a reason it's the bottom of all the canon episode. Moxie's speech to the surviving family is odd. I don't really know what his plan was, but it did lead to a great payoff, so I can forgive it. Luna doesn't do much, and Millie isn't treated much better. The scene of Moxie trying to shoot the family picture is the most screen time the two of them get. So like I said, great introduction to the show. This episode is great, but the show has a lot further to go, just wait. Also, this clip just kills me.
Remember what you taught us? Think before you act.
We're just visiting for the festival. The prince is our boss's boyfriend.
Millie, I am not above hitting a female in front of her daddy.
So this is a controversial opinion. I don't like Harvest Moon Festival that much. This episode is kind of boring. The episode starts with Blitz and Stolas, which is weird because they're both barely in this episode. Stolas gives a minor speech and Blitz is in the background until Stryker tries to kill his bae. So, this is an Eminem episode, which I want, except Millie, despite going to her hometown, doesn't get to do anything this episode. So this is really just a Moxie episode. Nothing wrong with that, he's one of the more developed characters of the show, and his voice actor's great, so fine. What's the plot? The plot is Moxie trying to prove himself to Millie's two-dimensional parents. This is just an overused trope, and any jokes derived from it are just overused. Although, watching Moxie get owned by a shark is pretty funny. There are good parts. Stryker is a fun character, especially when he tries to convince Blitz to join him, and Millie's sister's trans horns is a fun bit of world building. Why do people like this episode? Alright, the first half of this episode is an underwhelming mess, but post-reveal is the most tense the show has gotten so far. Episode 8 isn't out yet, so who knows what's going to happen in that. Stryker was a fun character before the twist, but post-twist, he is the best villain in the show. He's the only character we've seen using angelic weapons, not even the cherubs use that technology. Also, he apparently has a backup, as we saw in the final scene, as these are two different guns. Also, he's very gay.
Ooh, that's kinda hot.
Speaking of that final scene, Stella trying to kill Stolas was a reveal I wasn't expecting, and was also a pretty funny moment without breaking the tension. There's a lot good with this episode, but the first half really drags it down and stops it from being the classic the fandom says it is.
So are you! So why don't you shut your trap, you judgmental, cotton candy, tit-having bitch! Filthy demon!
At its best, this show is a deeply layered tragedy disguised as a comedy. This episode is not that. This episode is meant to be a breathing point before what's considered the Big Four, so it's hard to hate this episode because it excels at what it's trying to do, and that's be funny. The plot of this episode is an eccentric billionaire wants to kill his old partner after he died during an experiment. IMP arrives and he's already going to kill himself, but these angels save him, and the rest of the episode is spent with IMP trying to ruin all attempts the cherubs make to not have him feel like killing himself. Why is this paragraph so long? It's a great watch seeing the cherubs get progressively more annoyed at IMP until they break and just start trying to kill them. There's also some great visual gags like Lyle kissing a picture of money on his deathbed and Blitz jumping through a window before the M&Ms just walk through the door. This is also the only time IMP wears disguises, and it's after Luna says this last episode.
You three have been screwing around on Earth this whole fucking time without human disguises?
This episode is great, but we've got a lot more to get through, and this episode doesn't have much to talk about, so let's move on. Also, Cat Millie can step on.
Alright! That's it! If you're gonna be shitty to my employees, then I challenge you to a fucking challenge. Fuck, I said that.
I don't know how controversial of an opinion this is, but I really like this episode. Not only is it the only episode we get to develop Luna as a character, not only is Christina V nailing the bitch character, not only is it hilarious, but it also introduces drunk Moxie.
Hey, what did you get for heads? I wanna kiss him.
What else can you ask for? Veronica is such a talked about character, it's weird to think this is the only episode she's actually had a part in. She was in Blitz's drug hallucination and had a brief cameo in episode 7, but this is the only episode she's actually been plot relevant in, which just shows how well she was introduced. Luna is also great in this episode. As I said, it's the only episode focused on her, and she's excellent in it. It's nice to see her react to something that's not a joke. Her argument with Blitz is legitimately heartbreaking, and her relationship with Vortex is adorable in this episode. Most importantly, this episode is just funny. Blitz's plan is one of the funniest moments in the show, and Moxie's reaction is just the cherry on top. Actually, just anything the M&Ms do this episode is hilarious. Overall, great episode. It's not quite on the level of the top 3, but it's a great watch nonetheless.
I just want to go home. But home doesn't even feel like home anymore. You ruined it.
This episode was the first clue that this show was going to be something great. The first episode was fun, but this was downright incredible. After the epic that was You Will Be Okay, we cut to current day with Octavia listening to music to drown out the sound of her parents arguing, which is all Stolas' fault. Don't cheat on your wife. Hot takes only on this channel. Also, Stella's voice actor, Georgina I'm Dyslexic, is great, and I'm sad she plays such a minor character.
You want to fuck this one too?
After that, we see the main problem with Stolas' relationship with his daughter. He doesn't listen to her. He brings her to a place she liked when she was younger, but clearly doesn't care much for now, and hired Blitz to defend him, when really, he's just horny. This culminates with them sitting down and talking about how Stolas fucks up. The line, I want to go home, but home doesn't feel like home anymore, hits so hard every time I watch this episode. Stolas then decides to stop pretending to be helpless and look after his daughter. This is also a great shot of them walking through the chaos, but it's fine because they have each other, similar to You Will Be Okay. The Stolas and Octavia parts are great, but the rest of the episode isn't as good. The comedy peaks at Millie smashing through the window yelling, Lululand. I Am He aren't in this episode much, I don't think Luna even appears, and the action is well animated, but the choreography could be much better, as this is still an early episode. The glimpses at Blitz's past are fun, but other episodes do it better, as this is more of a tease than actual substance. Overall, great episode when focused on Stolas, but mid when the focus is anywhere else.
Stolas, don't act like what we have is anything but you wanting me to fuck you, okay? You make that really clear all the time. But I can't do it tonight, okay? I'm sorry.
This is the hardest episode to watch of the entire show, in a good way. It puts a spotlight on Stolas, literally, and all the problems with the relationship. It kind of feels like a sequel to Lululand in its own weird way. Stolas fucking Blitz is ruining his life, and this is how we're introduced to him this episode. Eating cereal for dinner, in the dark, all alone. It's just really depressing until he hears Blitz calling, which immediately changing his demeanour, and Blitz asking him on a date makes him really happy. But not the audience, as we know the truth. Blitz was just using Stolas to get past the guards so he can spy on the M&Ms. The date causes me physical pain, because Stolas is trying so hard to make it work, and Blitz really isn't. Anyway, if the characters won't get conversation starting, the plot will. Osmodius and Fizz dig into Moxie for keeping it PG in a sex club. Stay with me. Blitz stands up to defend him, which he immediately regrets. Fizz calls him out for daring to talk about relationships when his love life...
Last I checked, your love life is a pile of shit!
Veronica makes things worse, and if you look at Blitz's face, you can see genuine regret for what he did to her. It's like he's a three-dimensional character or something. But Blitz isn't the only one having a hard time, as Ozzy immediately turns the attention to Stolas and how he lost his wife and daughter for Blitz, and when given the chance to defend himself, he hides behind a menu. Which is a callback to Blitz's reaction when he sees Fizz. Contrast this with the M&Ms, who, when Moxie is interrupted, hits Fizz with a guitar, and everything looks worse for Stolas. The ending is what really makes this episode amazing. The scene in the car is just heartbreaking. Like, We know they do actually care for each other, but their relationship is far from healthy. There are other stuff I didn't talk about, like Osmodius and Fizz working as great antagonists and as a foil to Stolas and Blitz, as well as the song, funny visual gags, and more hints to Blitz's backstory, but Stolas are the focus of the episode and are what's really important. This episode is incredible, yet it's still not number one.
Okay, I've had one too many emotions for today, guys. Let's fuck these fuckers up!
This is the perfect episode of Helluva Boss. You can disagree with me, but I'm right. There's so much to discuss in this episode, and they're split into 3 sections. The interrogation, the fight scenes, and the drug trip. But first, I want to talk about the setup for this episode. So, it turns out, IMP hasn't been as stealthy as they thought. Dorks have been tracking them, and plot convenience puts them right outside of these weirdos. This is a bit contrived, but they travel a lot, so I can buy it. One great part about this scene is it's the first time we've seen Blitz really serious. It really helps Dorks feel like a threat. Maybe not physically, but as we see at the end, definitely someone to look out for. As Luna says later,
Blitz was using a total of 0 euphemisms, innuendos, or swears. That means it was serious.
So Blitz and Moxie are kidnapped and tied to chairs. Also, the chain is a really nice touch. So after that tone setter, we get Whiplash by Blitz just acting casual and Moxie quickly catching on to make one of the funniest scenes in the show. This part was clearly put in to pad the runtime and not make the animators roll over and die due to the other scenes in the episode, but even so, who cares when it's this funny? I mean, they unironically put a Your Mom joke in and it's funny. After that fantastic scene, the agents leave and the imps immediately drop the act. Blitz tries to escape while Moxie is just worried about Millie. Simp. One thing leads to another and now they're high. Stick with me. At first it doesn't seem that bad. Moxie has a Disney-style Phantom of the Opera thing, which got foreshadowed in many episodes.
I'm sorry, a commercial jingle is not comparable to musical theater.
So, how do we make this bad?
We can't. There's literally nothing bad about opera.
You have shitty taste in music! I'm sorry!
Shit taste? You said you liked that musical I recommended to you.
What's great about this episode is even when it gets serious, it still has jokes, like Blitz being crass in his lyrics and Moxie just calling him out on it. It makes it feel like Helluva Boss because this is just what these characters would do. Anyway, Moxie's trip ends with him emotionally connecting with Blitz, so it wasn't that bad. Now what about Blitz? Yeah, he's not having a great time. There's a lot to talk about in this scene, and it would just make this video longer than it already is, so just know it's great and hints towards Blitz's backstory and his other issues. After that drug trip, Moxie and Blitz have a real heart-to-heart, which is one of the few scenes of the episode without jokes, which really helps ground it. Also this line.
Thank you, sir.
You know my name. Use it.
Thanks, Blitz.
Anyway, so what have Millie and Luna been doing? Well, they've been kicking ass. Nothing to note here, it's just a cool scene with some funny visual gags. I wish we got more of Luna and Millie bouncing off each other, as we've never seen them together, but this episode was already crammed enough, so I can forgive it. The two make it to the boys, and another fight scene plays. Again, well animated, well choreographed, but also just funny. Mainly due to Blitz. Blitz just makes this fight so much more fun, by taking a selfie with a severed head, or offering water to Millie, or bringing out a giant rocket launcher called My Dick that shoots a missile called Pussy Destroyer. I love this show. After the smoke clears, these two somehow manage to corner IMP, which I question. I don't care that they lost their weapons. Luna wasn't using weapons throughout most of the fight, but whatever. I don't care because Stolas appears, because the writers realised they had action, comedy, and drama, so why not horror? Finally, Stolas creates a portal home, Blitz and Stolas go screw, which makes episode 7 hurt even more, and these two idiots were left alive. I know Stolas couldn't kill them for complicated lore reasons, but there are 4 other people in the room, but whatever. Hell's in fucking trouble, to be continued. And that's everything in this episode, meaning this video is over. Nobody watches till the end of these videos, so I'm just probably talking to the void right now, but if not, comment Luna step on me. I was initially going to make a video on a certain Rage game, but that became harder to write, but it might come out one day. So for now, enjoy this, loyal critics. I'm gonna go take a nap, subscribe or whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna upload next, but I do have one video idea that I want to upload in June. Enjoy!